Hello, welcome to a Sonic Lab presentation. We've got Tim Chandler here from Nektar Technologies. He's come in to show us a little bit about the development in the DAW integrations that's been happening since the last time we spoke to you. And very excitingly this time, because Logic Pro 10.2 is just out with Alchemy integration as well. And you're already there, right?
Yeah, we delayed the release of our integration in the knowledge that Alchemy was going to be included in 10.2, so we ensured we got the mapping in before we did this big release. And it is a really significant release. This is really, I mean, this is everything in here is Logic. You've got some firmware for the keyboard, and you've got a very interesting little app here, which is Panorama plugin editor. Now this was developed by one of our beta testers actually, Leon Seaman, thanks for that, which is really cool. Basically, he decided he wanted to edit the P lists for third-party instruments.
P lists in OS X are kind of like preference files, Windows registry, that kind of, is that where it holds all of the
yeah, I kind of,
parameters?
I said that like everyone would know what I'm talking about, didn't I? Yeah. We were using the plist, of course, anyway for our integration, and this just kind of added an extra level, so we included it and sent it out to the rest of the community. You run the installer, and this is the experience you get when you open Logic. Now, we do everything directly with Apple's tools. There's no wrappers, there's no software hosts, there's no plugin hosts, there's no third-party software. It's all basically through using the mechanisms that Apple gives you to work with Logic.
Right.
So let's just create a track. Software instrument is fine. And you can see here the control surfaces window is open, and you see that there's instrument mixer and panorama ports. All of these are custom protocols we've written. There's no emulation, there's no MCU emulation. We write everything from scratch. That way we have full control and full flexibility about the workflow we can present to people. And when you consider this as a keyboard controller, the workflow of a keyboard controller is very different to someone who would be using a Mackie controls. So and once you've seen this control surface once, you close it and you never have to see it again, it's all done. Let's just load up Alchemy, because Alchemy is such a key instrument in 10.2. So here it is. Okay, so I have a track, I have Alchemy on it. It's the selected track. You can see here we've got a motorized fader. This is high resolution. The fader now has the automation modes available on the fader button. So you've got mute, solo, the selected track, and also automation mode as well.
Oh, that's very handy, because you generally very quickly want to write a bit of automation in Logic and then just move on.
That's right, exactly. And you often think about automation in the context of a touch-sensitive fader, which is why it makes sense to have the control there, and it's always there in whichever mode you're in. Attack, instrument, and transport. These are the two modes that we've kind of added to our support. We had mixer mode for our current customers. We've extended that. We'll see in a minute how we've extended mixer. It's a lot more functional than it was before. But the addition of instrument and transport mode is what really makes this a full Nektar experience. But going back to automation, I mean, automation does make complete sense for touch-sensitive faders like this, but it also makes sense for all of these controls as well. And so we added automation as a shift feature to the mode button. You can see you can turn latch on and off for your selected track. And what that means is if I want to do some quick recording quickly, so let's just hit record. That'll do. I'm going to go back and play that. And then I'm going to turn loop on, so I've got that looping round. I'm just going to press play. And go back to the instrument, and you can see that I can shift mode, turn on my automation, start automating my parameters.
And that's immediately being written in there.
Exactly. So having all of these controls is fine, but you need quick access to your automation in order to be able to record stuff down.
Yeah.
And it's often something that's completely missed on controllers. They have all these MIDI controls, but no way of actually setting up the right mode. But you see, you've got all of these different automation modes, and you can scroll through them with the data encoder as well. So you see, you've got relative automation mode in Logic as well.
So with the integration with Alchemy, I mean, you've got all the name parameters there, and this is pulling all of this stuff up in a native fashion, right?
Yeah, well, let's go to instrument mode and have a closer look at Alchemy. I mean, Alchemy is a huge sample-based synth, I guess, with loads and loads of parameters. Now, we've got all of these parameters that Logic presents mapped out for you. This now has become, in instrument mode, this has become like a dedicated controller for Alchemy.
Right.
You have your 8 controls at the top here. These are like the 8 macro controls that you see down here. Yep. On Alchemy, and when I turn the data encoder, you'll see up pops the menu, and I can select different pages, and you see how the pages are actually named, useful, not 1, 2, 3, 4, but actually named proper parameter groups. So I can select my X, Y, and of course, as you'd expect, there's my ability to change the excellent form pads of Alchemy. Here I've got my second XY pad, my third one down here. And then over here I've got morph controls as well, which actually affects, I mean, this is hidden away in Alchemy in the morph menu, but you know, like I say, it kind of, these are quite big controls. They're quite big performance controls, forward, right. So we brought them forward and put them in a category that makes sense, which is X, Y. You can tune the different parts against each other as well. And then as we go further down the menu, of course, these are all global controls on the first kind of group of 8 parameters. Here you get down into individual voices, so you can edit different parts of each voice as well.
Right, so it's
you've got,
as we would expect, really sort of deep.
Exactly, yeah. And you can see here there's an arpeggiator button. Now this arpeggiator button is actually for Logic's arpeggiator. So it's not for Alchemy. It's for Logic. And if I add another instrument, let me just go to the F keys and then select Logic, and I can set up a new instrument. There we go. Oh, you know what? I can even browse an instrument. If I go back to Mixer, and you can then browse different instruments. So if I go along, I can load up let's have a look for the Ultra Beat.
Ultra Beat, just for those perhaps who don't know, it is a kind of self-contained drum synth and drum pattern.
Yeah. So if I go down here, I can turn my pattern on. Turn the mode on to toggle on or not.
So can you edit the individual voices? I mean, because that's going to be quite complicated with all those pages.
Yes, you can do that. The voices are all down here. Now, whichever one I play, it's going to trigger a different. The voices have loads and loads of parameters each, and what we've done is we've mapped out in here a whole synthesizer for just the selected voice, if you like. And you select the voice in 2 ways. You can have on the home page, which is there by pressing instrument at any time, go back to the home page. You can select the voice with the encoder, like so. Yeah. Or you can, if there's a little button, if I just press the view button, so it pops open. There's a little button here that isn't automatable, so we can't access it annoyingly through a keystroke or from Panorama. But one click will turn on this little voice auto select, and that means now when I play, it selects the voice that I'm playing, and that's the keys as well.
Immediately. Right, so then you can just work on the parameters for that single voice.
Start tuning the sample on the fly, which really is really great workflow. I mean, this is how it always should be with drums, and this has never really been possible before with things like Ultra Beat or any.
So this again is a sort of very specific integration of a feature of Logic, which shows how deep that you're going, right?
Yeah, and once again, it shows you that this is now a dedicated controller for Ultra Beat. I go back to Alchemy, it's a dedicated controller for Alchemy. This is how it works, because all of the controls, like I said, 8 is not enough. All of the controls map to Alchemy. So
do these work as envelopes as well, right?
Yeah, so you've got your amplitude envelope here for Alchemy. You can see these controls. This is your main envelope down there, and let's turn the attack down. You've got sustain, release, and then over here, just because it's in Alchemy, it made sense to put a voice mix there. So you've got